Hi, Adam. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello, thank you for the invite. Glad to be here.
Yes. All right. So, why don't you jump right into it and tell people a little bit about your background and what it is you do and kind of your experience with different investment strategies out there that are non-traditional from the typical 401k.
Sure. Well, I'm a real estate investor, first and foremost. I got into that in 2011. And at the time, I was a police officer. But real estate investing was a big piece of my plan to build wealth and get out of having to work a 9 to 5. So I've been doing real estate investing since 2011. I actually ended up switching careers in 2018 and got into financial services. So I'm a wealth advisor now, but not probably in the traditional sense that people think of when they think wealth advisor. My goal really is to be an industry disruptor and to, instead of taking control from clients, which is what I think the traditional financial industry does, I want to educate clients on alternative strategies that aren't really, commonplace, of how they can build tax-free wealth. So tax-free assets, tax-free income, real estate is a big important part of that. And there are some other supplemental strategies around that can really help somebody build wealth in a meaningful way and actually have control over their money rather than giving it to banks, financial institutions, financial advisors. Just take more control.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's very out of the norm of when someone gets hired on to a new job, they usually get signed up with a retirement plan that kind of has their preferred services.
Yep.
So how do people usually get in touch with you or seek out your services? And then what kind of strategies are you initially showing them and how easy is it for someone to get started with this?
Yeah. So how I normally connect with new people is doing exactly what we're doing here, right? Zoom meetings, podcasts, being in articles, things like that, and then people find out about me and what I do, and specifically that I serve the real estate investor space, and I am one myself, and often make those connections over LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn and pretty easy to find there and pretty prevalent. I'm usually posting on a regular basis there, so that's how I usually make those connections. Um, but as far as working with me, I would just step back and say, before even deciding to work with somebody or that kind of thing, it's like, what can I offer that provides people new information that maybe isn't something that they've come across yet? And I think one of the things that I'm sharing with people that is different from the traditional financial advisor is two key strategies to avoid taxes in retirement so that your retirement income is tax free, and then how you can combine those with real estate investing. And they're both things I'm doing with my own money.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Can you walk us a little bit through how you did that specifically to invest in real estate with some of your personal experience?
Yep, absolutely. So there's really two key strategies that I use. One is more, well, actually, I guess they're both more long-term, but one is a self-directed Roth IRA. And I think we're going to spend some time talking about that today and just, how that works and what that looks like. And then the other strategy is using dividend paying whole life insurance as a capital account to support my real estate investing as well. And those are my two primary strategies. And the reason that I like using them is because you can, as you earn your money, obviously you pay taxes and report the taxable income in that year. But then you can put it in one of those two accounts and you can grow the money tax-free from that point forward. And sometime down the line in retirement, when you take the money out, it is tax-free retirement income. So, and in the meanwhile, you can be leveraging those dollars into real estate deals and then growing that wealth and multiplying that wealth. So it's a pretty cool twofold strategy that can build wealth in a very powerful, sustainable way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't even know that exists because they simply just don't even know what they don't know. And it is pretty amazing that you can use a tool like that to invest in things like real estate, which is an entirely different investment. So how easy is it when you get on board with a different custodian that does the self-directed IRAs? What does that look like to actually move that money to invest in real estate as an investor? How easy is that?
Yep. Well, I think one of the cool things, and again, this is not something that is openly shared, you have to find this information out, but did you know that an IRA can invest in just about anything? There's only just a few exceptions of things an IRA cannot invest in. An IRA cannot invest in antiques, collectibles, life insurance, or S corps. And that's about it. Everything else an IRA can invest in. So an IRA can invest in real estate, LLCs, partnerships. I mean, all these different things. So it's not just the stocks, bonds, and mutual funds that are offered by, whoever your carrier is at your employer that you mentioned, but you can invest in just about anything. And so I think that's a really powerful thing to know. But then knowing that, going to a custodian that offers a true self-directed account, they understand that too. So I don't mean where you go to like a big name brokerage house and you ask, is this self-directed? And they're like, oh yeah, it's self-directed. You don't have to hire one of our money managers. Well, it's not really self-directed if all you have is like the option to invest in stocks or bonds or something like that. A true self-directed account opens up your world, just like what I was talking about, where you can invest in just about anything. And a true self-directed custodian, it's pretty easy to set that account up, Savannah. It's the same as if you would go to one of the big name brokerage houses like E-Trade or TD Ameritrade or Schwab or something like that. It's the same process. You fill out the same paperwork and you say, I'm opening an IRA or a Roth IRA. And then you fill out your information and designate, who your beneficiary would be. And then you can open the account by funding it with your contributions. So opening it is simple. As far as what makes it different or makes the experience different, you are going to be more hands-on. So whereas when you're trading in the stock markets and you use kind of the standard setup, the custodian will handle, you can basically through clicks of a mouse, you can make your trades and do your investments. It's not quite that simple and easy when you're doing a self-directed IRA. You actually have to fill out paperwork when you do an investment and let them know, hey, I'm instructing you, I want to invest in this real estate at this address, or I want to invest in this partnership, right? Like a syndication type deal. So it's a little bit more involved that way, but not so much that it's not hard to do. I mean, it's not that hard to do.
Right. Yeah. And then this custodians that you're working with through some of these self-directed IRAs, a lot of them are very familiar with these alternative forms of investing, like that list
That's right.
that you mentioned. I think even like gold and Bitcoin are on that list. But say you wanted to do real estate and then you give them the specific real estate deal you want to do. They really know the steps of what it takes to get you onboarded for that and to set up your account so that your funds are then transferred back into your self-directed IRA and then it's accumulating from there, correct?
That's right. That's right. And then I guess the other things that would be important to know for somebody who's thinking about this or is just starting to learn about this strategy is kind of understanding how the fee structure can look a little bit different.
Right.
Whereas with, again, E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, and those, the fees are kind of built in and you never really see the fees that you may be paying, right? Because it's built into Wall Street's model. It's a little more transparent with a self-directed IRA custodian. So they're generally going to have some sort of fee schedule or structure, and they're going to provide that to you at the time you apply for your account. So you know exactly, if it's based on the account balance and you're going to pay this much in a 1-year fee based on your account balance, or if it's based per transaction, you'll know all that up front. So it's a lot more transparent in that way. The other thing that I would say that I learned, and I think this is just a good learning point for somebody who's trying to decide, is this the right strategy for me of using a self-directed account? I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but I would say that any time that account balance is less than $100,000, you might find that you want to take time to build some more capital prior to starting that strategy because of the fees that I just mentioned. Like you don't want it to be such a small amount of money that you put in there that the fees are starting to eat away at your account value before you have the chance to really earn it back in returns. And so again, there's no magic number or perfect number, but I would tell somebody who's sitting there thinking, well, I'm on the fence about this. You probably want to have $100,000 or more to start that strategy. And if you don't, then that's okay. There's other ways to invest in real estate without having to use that self-directed account.
Right, exactly. And some good candidates for the self-directed IRA would maybe be someone who was working at a job where they had their retirement account and then they left that job. And so then those funds get transferred into an IRA. So most likely they have a larger pile or a little nest egg. And then they would be a better maybe opportunity for them.
Yeah, when you have some existing assets and if you're, let's say, in your 20s or your early 30s and you haven't had the chance to accumulate those existing assets, well, then you don't have to add that level of complexity to your world. You can just start with the cash, right? And you can invest directly into real estate until you've created, like you said, that pile of money. And of course, by that point, taxes are probably more on your radar too if you're making more money and you have more money. So that multiplies the advantage or the effect of, oh yeah, I should probably look into this vehicle of using like a self-directed IRA.
Right, right. And just because you're very familiar with a lot of different financial strategies out there and different things that you've done personally and different services that you kind of educate people on, what do you love about real estate? What do you tell people if they're thinking about investing in real estate? What is your kind of your pitch on that?
That's one of my favorite questions to answer because we love to talk about the things we love. And I think real estate is such a unique asset because you can purchase it at below its true value, right? If you can negotiate a good deal, you can walk right into value. You can buy something at 20% below its value, 50% its value. You can then make improvements to that at a discount. And all of a sudden you gain all this equity just by making those improvements. So you can buy it for less than it's worth. And then with less money than is required to earn the equity, you can fix it. And then all of a sudden you get all this equity. And then on top of that, each year you can take tax deductions based on depreciating the property. So, unlike your car, which is almost the polar opposite of that. Like when you go buy a car, you buy it at a way inflated value and it instantly loses value when you drive it off the lot.
Right.
And you don't get any tax breaks for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the car doesn't pay you anything. You have to put payments into the car.
Right.
And real estate is the total flip of that. You can buy it under its value. The value goes up on you. On your taxes, you can depreciate it and mark it down, and it pays you income. So it's such a powerful, powerful asset for building wealth because it just works for you in so many ways. And I just think that's what makes it a wealth multiplier.
Yeah, so awesome. I mean, yeah, exactly like you said, it's easy to talk about something you love. I know I could go on and on about all the reasons why I invest in real estate as well. How easy is it for someone to get started? I know that there are a lot of people who want to get started that maybe don't have all the capital available, or they're just looking for different way. I mean, how many different options have you seen to get people into the real estate? I mean, like you mentioned, the self-directed IRA, syndications, buying different things. How feasible is it?
Well, you can enter the real estate game at just about any level. I mean, for example, where I started, I didn't have a lot of capital when I started. So in 2011, I did some wholesaling. I learned about that and I built some cash that way. I partnered with a friend who had money, and we always joked around that I had the brains and he had the money, and together it was a winning combo. So I mean, there's ways that you can partner with folks that have more financial resources than you. You can make use of lending programs, which we did too. We got into our first single family, and because we bought it right, we were able to refinance it. And so we basically leveraged the bank's money then to pay ourselves back for the property. And we leveraged into the next one, doing cash out refinances. So you can get started small that way, and you can start with single family. Eventually you graduate to where I'm at, and the space you're working in is you've started to build some cash and you've started to build some capital. And that might be 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years in. And either way, you should never try to compare your journey to somebody else's, because there's some folks that just hit the timing right and the circumstances right, and they just skyrocket right in that first couple of years. For me, I'd say it was 8 years of doing real estate before I could advance to now commercial properties, right? Where I had some capital and could do a real estate syndication with a group of investors, which, by the way, I think is a way that can help you get into multifamily faster, because certainly I had enough of a lump sum of cash to do a decent deal, but not enough to tackle a multifamily all by myself. And so the way I got into it was a small group of investors doing the syndication, and together, when we put all our money together, we were actually able to do the deal. And so now I can say I own 52 doors with my partners. So, there's all different entry points all along the way. But I mean, my suggestion, if you're starting from the very base, is create some extra income through something like wholesaling or a sales gig, and partner with somebody who has more resources than you. And then as you build your own resources, again, you're partnering with other people who have resources of their own. I think you are going to see a multiplied effect and able to grow faster if you're able to work with others and partner your resources. I don't know, what has your experience been that way too?
Yeah, I love that. I do love hearing that real estate is not a get rich quick scheme. It does take a bit of effort, a little bit of work. And then once that snowball starts rolling, it really creates all these different opportunities. Like you mentioned, tax strategies, depreciation, appreciation, cash flow. Real estate just has so much to offer once you get the ball rolling and start kind of creating all the different avenues of growth with it. So that's so, so awesome. I love that. And syndications, like you mentioned, I mean, that's what my specialty, but it just, people being able to pool their resources together to take down bigger deals, it's just eliminates so much risk and creates way better returns. I just love it. It's been my favorite strategy in real estate. Thank you so much for sharing. Where is the best way for people to get in contact with you? I know you mentioned LinkedIn, but if someone wanted to connect with you and just learn about different financial strategies that the more than we've covered on this call, what's the best way?
Yep. So I really would say that LinkedIn is, and everybody can see my name there at the bottom of the screen. I'm Adam Duran on LinkedIn, and I think I'm the only one. If not, I'm the only one in America for sure. So you'll find me. But the other thing is too, I don't mind just putting out, my number is 913-548-1447. And I'm always game for a good conversation around real estate and tax-free wealth. I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. So.
Yeah, I love it. And I should have pre-surfaced with this, but Adam and I met on a networking call with real estate. I also found him in LinkedIn, and that's how we've connected. And we've talked real estate multiple times over the last few months and gotten to know each other and different things that we're doing in the asset class. So he is very available through LinkedIn. He does love connecting with people. So if you're interested, do reach out to him. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Vanna.